Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Last Call Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Paul Clement, alongside my co host, Bobby Briscoe, here on a Monday evening, June 1st. An exciting day for the football schedule and for us because we get to talk about it. How are we doing tonight, Bobby?
Doing good, doing good. As we were saying before we took live here, it's been a long week and it's Monday, but happy to be about to crack into a delicious pint and talk about some fantasy football here. I've been really busy all day, so you're going to kind of get my live takes on some of this news here. I know a lot's happened, but I haven't even really had the time to digest it yet. So let's dive in.
Amen, brother. And I think we messaged on either Friday or Saturday, like, hey, here's the idea I want to do for this podcast on Monday. Hopefully some news comes through on June 1st, and man, did it deliver.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
we're going to be touching some of this awesome news that's come through for some parties, maybe less awesome news for those that are on the other side of some of these trades, but we're going to touch on all that. And then we're going to get into players that we think are being drafted too high. So players that are um, maybe going where we feel uncomfortable. I would love these players if I would love these players if they were a round or two later. I think is the idea for this draft. So we're going to be getting into all that. Um, let's stop jibber jabbering and let's get on to it. Let's get it cracking, Bobby. Cheers. Boom. Okay, everybody, we are back and let's talk about some of this latest news that's gone down over the last week. I feel like this news is old news, but it literally. Oh, yep. Sorry,
Wait.
I missed it last week. Thank God for you, Bobby. Let's talk about what we're drinking tonight.
First order of business, the beer.
The
Come on.
beer, of course.
I actually have a good one today. That's why I'm so insistent.
Yes, please.
We were back at, I've featured beers from here before on the podcast. Spot out in the middle of the country near the town of Alexandria, Wood Brothers, it's called. Again, wood ovens, craft beers, great spot. I have their Mexican lager here today. The brewmaster there is Mexican, so of course they have a very good Mexican lager. So
Love
very
it.
very fine beer this evening.
And I'm just on my Dutch stuff, another Heineken this evening. And honestly, it's today was a big outside day. Walking the dog, hanging out outside, playing outside with Catherine when she got home from school. So a nice, refreshing lager was exactly what the doctor ordered. Um,
Seems
and
like we're on the same page here tonight.
yes, sir. Let's get into this news because I feel like this just came out after we finished recording last Monday. Like this, Josh Jacobs uh, being arrested for several accounts of domestic abuse. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm not going to get into the politics of this is the NFL and these players seem to spring up all the time in this league. I think let's just focus on the fantasy football ramifications and maybe the range of outcomes here, Bobby.
Yeah,
You're a Green Bay Packer fan, so why don't you take the lead on
yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah. I'm going to echo you there. I'm not going to get too involved in the the legal of all of this. I think the big thing for this is especially if I'm in a redraft league. I am higher on Marshawn Lloyd now. That is, I think, something to keep in mind out of all of this. Will Josh Jacobs miss any time for this? Who knows? What will happen? What will be the ramifications of this? I don't know. But Marshawn Lloyd is a player that I've been high on as a Packers fan. I know in the last iteration of our dynasty league, I took him as a rookie in the rookie draft last year. No, 2 years ago, I guess now.
Yeah,
He's been very injured, but coming out of into the league, He was a prospect with an amount of upside, and should Josh Jacobs miss time, it looks like Marshawn Lloyd's taking first team reps and getting amount of work. So a player to maybe be kind of on the lookout for, regardless. But especially given the circumstances, I would kind of keep him on the radar. That's my big kind of take currently as to all of this.
Yeah, and I think it's still early on, and if you and I know anything about the NFL, is that they like to let the legal process kind of unfold before they
Yeah,
decide to do anything. So
yeah,
to your point, no justice may be handed down this season from the
yeah.
NFL.
It
Um,
could be a next year thing.
it could be a next year thing. We've seen that with a couple of different players over the past couple of years. Um, yeah, I think he's a great player himself. I do. It's funny that some of these. I mean, this happens every offseason. Like a lot of these uh, dominoes start to topple after these rookie drafts and like as we're getting into like the true dead part of the offseason. I think it's unfortunate that it happened when it did because I honestly forget who drafted Josh Jacobs in our dynasty startup, but it's a huge blow because you're taking
Yeah.
him in that third round, fourth round, and
Yeah.
it could be nothing, it could be everything, but we're going to find out a little bit closer to the start of the season.
Mhm.
It's obviously a unfortunate thing that's happened,
Mhm.
and we will just have to be patient fantasy observers when it comes to how it affects drafts in August and the rest of the NFL season because
Yeah.
he very well could be a top 12 running back when it comes to fantasy, but he has to be on the field to do so.
Yeah. If your league is drafting for whatever dumb reason, like in the next couple weeks, then I would take him as if nothing really is happening. Because to your point, these things do tend to take time. But yeah, hopefully your redraft league is sensible and you're not drafting anytime soon, and you'll have more information to go off of. Hopefully, come
Yeah,
late August.
it feels like one of those math questions where you're in high school and it's like, what is the answer? ABC or D, and one of those answers is not enough information to answer the question properly. I feel like
Yeah,
that's where we are right now.
yeah, exactly.
Um, let's get into the next piece of news. The New York Giants here on June 1st just went on a signing spree. They bring back Odell Beckham Jr. That's the big, ticket item right there. Bring back Odell. They bring back, or they don't bring back, but they sign Braxton Berrios, and they also signed Juju Smith-Schuster. So I feel like this is a reactionary thing to how they feel about Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
That's me sifting through the tea leaves and trying to figure out why they would sign all these receivers. I think it's going to be a an open camp and like the best receivers that between the ones they've drafted and the ones they've signed are going to play. And I feel like I feel like it's bad news for Malik Neighbors. I hate to
Yeah.
say that because I love the player, but it just seems like he is not where he is supposed to be with his rehab.
Yeah, 1,000%. It's kind of funny. So I hadn't. I mentioned that I'm behind on the news today. When I was on my drive home, thinking about players that I wanted to put on my list of, uh, you know, uh, questioning where they're being drafted in their current ADP, I had Neighbors in mind as one of those players, and I guess the Giants do too, going out and getting all this depth at wide receiver, right? Yeah, I mean, it tells me that Neighbors is not ready yet. Even if he is back, I mean, we know with that kind of injury, it takes a while. So yeah, this is the Giants doing their due diligence and trying to shore up that room for the next season going forward, and then going beyond that. From a fantasy standpoint, these are kinds of players that I think are worth flyers in a late round. You're in the you're in the final round or two of your redraft league, and you're just looking for someone to throw a dart at. Maybe you throw a dart in this direction just to see what happens. Maybe Neighbors is a no go. Maybe the offense gets clicking in New York with some of these players, and or one of these players, and you happen to pick the right one, right?
Yeah. Odell's 33 years old. You're right
I'm
now.
thinking more Juju than. Odell.
I mean, Juju's dealing like he's been dealing with a knee injury for the longest time. I feel like it's like this lost island, island of lost toys. Like you've got right now they're rolling with Darius Slayton, Malachi Fields. No, is that the rookie they drafted?
I
I think
can
so.
hope the
Juju
Jets
Smith-Schuster, Braxton Berrios. Uh, did I already say Darius Slayton? Did they bring in
Okay,
Darnell
so their
Mooney?
current slot of wide receivers, we've got Neighbors, Slayton, Mooney, yeah, Calvin Austin, Malachi
Oh
Fields,
my gosh, Calvin Austin.
yeah, Odell, Juju Smith-Schuster, Braxton Berrios, Isaiah Hodgins, and now we're getting into names that I do not know. So
Okay, so I do feel like it's. I mean, I'm not sure if you heard about this piece of news, but like Jackson Dart coming out and saying that they're going to run the ball to no end, and they're like going to run it until they can stop Cam Scatterbu. I guess is the assumption there. But
or
uh,
until Cam Scatterbu just simply falls
well,
apart.
so I'm very nervous as a Cam Scatterbu owner because he showed up. He was doing some activities in OTAs. He still says he's gonna be ready for week one, but being ready for week one is not being ready for training camp. And training camp is really where you start to get in game shape. You start to build that chemistry and figure out how you're gonna play behind this new offensive line that they have. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's it feels like things have fallen apart very quickly for the
Yeah, I
Giants.
know.
Like they
And
were everyone's sweetheart.
they've gone from a team I was really excited about, and I've kind of like hyped up on this podcast before, to starting to feel a little bit nervous about some things here. Um,
Between like Jackson Dart standing up for what's his name, Donald Trump, and Abdul Carter like blasting him for that, and
yeah,
then Malik Neighbors obviously not being on time and on track for this injury recovery. Cam Scatterbu probably going to be okay, but we don't know because he's just going to say he's going to play regardless. It feels very
I'm surprised they kept him off the field last year.
yes. What were we talking about?
I think we're good on that. Let's move on to the
Let's
Myles
move on.
Garrett news here.
Yeah. So the first the big blockbuster trade that nobody saw coming, I get the notification on Sleeper, and I'm like, oh, finally, the AJ Brown trade has gone down. But no, Myles Garrett getting traded to the Los Angeles Rams for a first rounder and Jarrett Verse and some extra throw on pieces as well in terms of draft capital towards the Browns. The Rams are pushing their chips all in and saying F them picks yet again as they move towards trying to win a Super Bowl here.
Listen, what were they going to do with a first round pick? Draft a backup quarterback?
Very, I mean, you can't get by without a backup quarterback. We all know that,
You got
Bobby.
to have a good backup quarterback. Um, yeah, I mean, you've said it. This is chips in the middle. I think this is the kind of move that I wanted to see out of this team, and I'm kind of happy to see they are very much in win now mode. I have ranked them at or near the top of my power rankings of NFL teams. So they're going out and doing what they need to do and trying to get there for this year and win a ship. That's the idea here.
Yep, this it's a similar play to what they did the last time Los Angeles hosted the Super Bowl. They went out and got um, Odell Beckham Jr. They went out and got the the edge Von Miller.
Yeah.
They just went out and got everything they needed to make sure that they were the best team in the league. And with Matt Stafford coming off his MVP season, the wide receivers they have there, the the power game that they run out of their heavy sets, their defense, which is going to be much improved now with Trent McDuffie being added, with Myles Garrett being added, with I think they took another safety or a corner from the Chiefs as well, who was a starter. Like they boosted their defense to a point where it's hard to think of a team that's in better shape than this one at this point in the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I like it on their part. I hate to coming back to this. I would have liked it more had they gone out and got like a Makai Lemon as that first round pick over a backup quarterback. But I
Yeah.
mean, they are chips in. They're doing what they need to do. Um, the reverse of this, oof.
Oh, for the
if you are
Browns. Yeah.
you're a Browns fan, I mean, Verse is certainly a player.
He's a very
That's a
good
nice.
player.
Uh,
He's a Pro Bowl edge player today,
yep.
and
Yeah.
he's younger
Absolutely.
by 8 years. So
Yeah. So first round pick as well, second round pick the year after, third rounder the year after that, and so a lot of draft capital to get back to. So the Browns are, looking better for the future, and I like them accruing assets, but it is certainly going to be a detriment to their team this year. Where we'll talk about this, I think, when we get to some of the players that we're going to look at this time. There's a couple players that I think I am even less high on now, given that the defense on the Browns has weakened itself.
okay, yeah. I mean, we are at the end of the day a fantasy podcast, and we do play IDP, but I think Myles Garrett is set up in a he just broke the sack record on the Browns last year
Yeah,
when teams had no business passing the ball because they were always winning, and he still did so. So I think him going to the Rams, where it's going to be a competitive division, he will probably do something similar and
yeah.
get really close to the sack record yet again. Let's get into the piece de resistance.
The trade
Um,
everybody saw coming.
yes, and like as a Patriots fan, I was just sitting around and waiting for the notification to come through. And the longer it took, I'm like, man, AJ Brown's going to the friggin' Chiefs, isn't he? Or AJ Brown's going to the Rams or something like that. And he eventually gets dealt to the New England Patriots in the late afternoon. Thank goodness. It ends up costing the New England Patriots a 2028 first and a fifth round pick in 2027, I believe.
Yep, 2027.
And I think this is just a match made in heaven. I know there's AJ Brown has said on podcasts before that he didn't like Vrabel when he first got into the league, but he came around to it and he had some of his best seasons in Tennessee under Vrabel.
Yeah,
I like I'm not gonna I shouldn't call my brother out, but I'm gonna call my brother out. He's like, I don't see the difference between Stephon Diggs and AJ Brown. They're basically the same player. I'm like, that's a really dumb take, man, because Stephon Diggs is 33 years old now, playing only in the slot. That's the only place he can operate. Whereas AJ Brown is a size, speed phenom who plays outside, who can win at all levels of the field, and can take any ball to the house. Like he's still that player. He's not out of his prime. I'm
yeah,
not ready to believe anyone that says he's out of his prime. I'm not ready to listen to. He's only 28
yeah,
years old. He's got 2 or 3 more years of this before we really start to see the cliff. But
yeah.
I think go ahead.
I mean, is that cliff really in the same spot as we used to fear it is? It's not 30 anymore. 30
No,
is no longer the hard and fast. That's the cliff. We've seen lately too many guys who are in their early 30s still being productive. Look at Devontae Adams last year, right?
good point.
Yeah. So yeah, you're still going to be able to get a few years left out of AJ Brown being that guy for sure.
I think so, and it's just a perfect match in terms of matching a player with his skill set with a quarterback who's willing to huck the ball and be so accurate downfield, whether it's from the pocket or on the run, scrambling or otherwise. Like
Mhm.
I think I think so. AJ Brown was a top 12 fantasy wide receiver last year in that Eagles offense, which we all said was just god awful. He still was
Mhm.
able to do that, and now you put him on the Patriots with a good supporting cast, improved offensive line, better quarterback play, in my opinion, and I think he's set up for some serious success this season. I really like the match between him and Drake May, and I'm going
Yeah.
to keep saying that until the season starts and I'm
Yeah.
proven otherwise.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I don't really feel like I have a lot of like fantasy analysis to add to this because like I was already drafting him and assuming that he was on the Patriots. Like it was such like it felt like already done deal that I've been analyzing things with this as a thing in place for the last couple months. It feels like, but
Yeah,
I
I'll
mean, it's nice to see that it's finally done and we can commit to these takes.
yeah, I didn't want to be. I mean, we had Eric Imward on here, and he was saying that, oh yeah, no, you have AJ Brown. Like, I don't jinx us, first of all, and second of all, like the news this past week leading up to June 1st was like, oh, the Saints might be in on him, the Chiefs might be in on him. Like, all these different teams were like apparently making extra phone calls, and that got me
Yeah,
nervous. But I'm happy that he landed where he should have landed at the end of his
that's
Eagles.
yeah, that's a media thing too, right?
Oh,
Like I'm
100%.
just thinking. I'm a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan. For the last couple of years, it's been that this draft class, it's Gavin McKenna. Gavin McKenna. He's going to be the first overall pick. Gavin McKenna. Gavin McKenna. Then the draft lottery is done. We know who has the first overall pick. And all of a sudden it's, well, what about this player? What about this player? What about this player? Right? All of a sudden the wheels start to spin, right? Got to talk about the other players in the draft. Maybe
Got to
they could be
create
good.
some intrigue.
We got to create the intrigue, right? Yeah, exactly. Where at the end of the day, we all know what's going down there, right? So,
Yeah. So I think this, just to put a bow on this, I think it's good that he's going to be their X receiver. They're stay on the field whether they go heavy or not, and just be that, like, everywhere that AJ Brown has played, every single season he's played, he has been an amplifier for the offense, whether it's the Titans or the Eagles. And I'm very happy that he has landed on the Patriots, where Drake May is like, it's almost like that. God, not to tie it back to Stefan Diggs, but it's like when Stefan Diggs landed on the Bills, right? Like, that's when Josh Allen took that, like, astronomical step into the stratosphere, where he had a number one receiver he could count on against man coverage, against zone coverage. It didn't matter on third down when you need to have it. You had this guy, and at
yeah,
least if it,
absolutely.
and if not, then at least he was drawing extra defenders that way, so someone else was open. So I
Yeah.
love it. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to get into our players that we think are being drafted too highly. Back in a minute.
And I need to refresh my beer because these are small cans.
Let's do it. All right, everybody, we are back, and we're going to dive right in. Bobby, why don't you hit us with the first player you would like to talk about when it comes to players that are being drafted too highly?
Okay. So I know that Paul, you have a mock draft up. I'm looking at the Fantasy Pros consensus rankings, and this is the player that's sitting currently at 13th overall on those consensus rankings, and that's Devon Achan.
Yeah,
Not sure
he
where he is on your mock draft.
on current ADP, he is the 15th player off the board in
Okay.
sleeper.
So looking at early second round pick kind of deal for this guy. Um, so there's a few things with Devon Achan. I love the player. If this is a dynasty situation, then I would love to have him on my team. But specifically looking at this year, that team is gonna be so bad. There's so many question marks. They have new offense. They have no talent. There's hardly anybody that he has to play with. So I don't see this man on an island being able to, produce enough to live up to that current, kind of high second round ADP that he seems to be going at. Especially, considering the makeup of player that he is, right? He's not big. He's very fast. but he's definitely the kind of player that needs to be schemed to a little bit more. This is not a Derrick Henry where, it doesn't matter what team he's on in his prime, he's just going to rumble his way through and just do it all himself, right? He needs to get into space. He needs to get open and be able to use that speed that he has and that shiftiness to get down the field. We don't know what the situation is going to be like there this year. We do not know how that offense is going to operate. And again, there's a lot being put onto one player in an offense that I think is not very strong. So that's why, again, I don't dislike the player, but I don't like him at that first round to second round turn.
Okay. Um, I love this take. I think so. Let's think of the pros and the cons here, right? So pros, he just got signed to an extension, so he is part of the future of this team. Um, Pros, he's done it in the past. He's a proven pass catcher. He's a proven explosive play waiting to happen. And I think that's basically where it ends. Because
Yeah.
when we start to look at the cons, to your point, new offensive coordinator, the new we've talked about this in the past. Like I think the quarterback is going to be a more of the problem to his production
Yeah.
than his like situation. I think they want to run the ball quite heavily in Miami. They drafted an offensive lineman in Caleb Proctor, and they signed Achan. They have this good stable of running backs, and and um, he he also so I the point with the quarterback is that I think when push comes to shove, um, Malik Willis will rush rather than check down, where Tua was check down Charlie all year last year,
Yeah.
and a lot of his production came off of those pass catching. Um, so you're really relying on his ability to break off big runs because I'm not sure how involved. I feel like his targets will be cut in half at least from
Yeah.
last year to this year. And then to
Yeah.
your point, they are just not going to be in scoring position enough for him to cash in on touchdowns when it comes like he's not going to be the running back that's going to put up 15 touchdowns this year. I hate to
No.
say it. I think he's more likely to get into those like 6 or 8 touchdown range.
Mhm.
He's not gonna be that goal line guy when they have Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon as those
Yeah.
goal line types.
If he's scoring a touchdown, I imagine them as 30, 40 plus yard run plays where he just breaks three and takes it to the house from wherever on the field, right? Which he can do and he will do.
Yep.
It's just that is not the kind of reliable production that you're going to be able to count on week in, week out, right?
Yep. No, I echo everything you say there. So
Mhm.
I like that call out. I'm gonna go with another unpopular kind of pick here, and that's gonna be JSN. And I know as fantasy players, we tend to we tend to like gravitate towards what we just saw and what just happened recently. But if you really take a step back and think about what the situation is going to be for JSN going into 2026, it's going to be a new offensive coordinator who I think is, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it's the tight ends coach from San Francisco that they hired to be the OC in Seattle. I haven't heard of this guy before, so if he is going to be the offensive coordinator, we don't know what that's going to entail. Whether they want to stick with the Kubiak kind of system that worked so well last year, they're going to be run heavy. I think there's a stat like the Seahawks were like bottom third in pass attempts in general last year, and I feel like that's going to either maintain or even go lower this year when they put a first round draft capital into a running back. I feel like they want to continue to push the run game uh, in Seattle, and then yeah, maybe you hit these big shots downfield, but those are hard to repeat. And JSN had a magical season. I'm not taking that away from him. I have a feeling that last season might be the high water mark for Jackson Smith and Jigba,
Mm.
and he might settle into that 1100, 1200 yard range and fewer touchdowns than what we saw last year, which was truly a great wide receiver season. And
Yeah,
he's being taken as the the sometimes the second wide receiver off the board, and
yeah,
that to me is too rich. I think he's super talented, but I feel like there's a lot of ways this goes south quickly. Not south. Seattle's gonna be a good team. I just
yeah,
don't think he's gonna return on that like top five ADP draft capital, which is why I
yeah.
think this is spicy.
Yeah, I agree with that take in a lot of ways. And I think, yeah, when you're taking a player, so Fantasy Pros has him ranked fourth overall. And you're looking at the players, kind of in that tier. Puka, JSN, Jameer Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those are kind of the players that are all around him. I just feel like, yeah, there are maybe more sure bets. Like I'd rather take probably if I'm staring at the fourth overall pick, I'm probably going to go for Gibbs over JSN, and I think that's kind of to the point of your saying. It just feels more sure.
I made that decision in our dynasty startup the other week. Like
Mhm.
it was a easy decision for me. I thought that having the premium running back over the flash in a pan kind of receiver, I guess you could say he's now the highest paid non-quarterback, but at the same like I'm sorry, like regression is going to come,
Yeah.
and I think that he's more suited to be at the back end of the first round than right there at the like he's like the next pick after that top tier, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
Puka,
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, Gibbs, Bijan, people are taking JSN, and I think that's rich.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially again, I'm basing this off of redraft, right? Dynasty is a whole other conversation, but yeah, there are certain players that I see lower down that I would rather bet on for a bit of a bounce back here, and take that because they just feel as more surefire as players.
Right. Yep. All right, let's get to your next one, Bobby. What do you have?
We've kind of already touched on this. It kind of came up on the news, but Malik Neighbors. So currently, if we're looking at the fantasy pros here, he's going 18th overall. I'm not sure where he's at in your mock draft there.
So right now in ADP, he is going 18th overall. So
Okay,
that's
18th.
middle of the second, which admittedly, this feels like it's been recently updated because he was being drafted in the first round, and ADP
Yeah,
wise first round when we were doing our startup.
yeah, absolutely. And again, if it's dynasty, all day, every day, love this player. I think he is a fantastic wide receiver. That was a huge injury that he had last year. And it's an injury that we know takes about 2 years. You're off for about a year, and then there's another year before you're right again. So if you're in a redraft scenario, that ain't this year. I would not count on getting the Malik Neighbors that you are thinking of if you're drafting him this year. So to me, that is a big red X. Do not draft. Like it doesn't really matter where you are, I am avoiding drafting him. Let somebody else take that risk. Do not pick him. I'm putting a big do not draft next to him. Again, dynasty is a whole other topic because great player. I like the situation. We've talked about that before. I think there's a lot of good things to look forward to in the future in New York. For this year, nope.
That's a great call. Yeah, I think it's surprising to a lot of us who I think the initial like when it first happened, the initial news was torn ACL out for the season, and then it was like you have to wait a month to actually have the surgery. He has the surgery. Then we
Yeah.
find out it's also torn meniscus. Okay. People will come back from torn meniscus. I've come back from torn meniscus.
Mhm.
Thanks, Matt's bachelor party. And and um I think between that and then having this secondary surgery just a couple weeks ago to remove scar tissue, like he's still hobbling around on on
Yeah.
on camera. Like it's really scary if you're trying to if you're drafting and you're trying to pick a player in the first round early second round, these are players that you are banking on for the season, and he may not be
Yeah.
ready until October. And if he's not ready till
Yeah.
October, he won't even be 100% in October. So I agree. It's
Yeah.
it's it's tough to put your trust in a player like this. Um, I hope he gets better. Like the NFL
Yeah.
is better when he is an awesome player. So I hope he
Yeah.
gets better
Absolutely
quick.
it is. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure he will. He's still super young. He's got a lot of career ahead of him. But yeah, I mean, fade him this year in your redraft league.
I hope so, man. I hope so. Like when players have these like multi-faceted injuries in a knee, sometimes they really never come back. And I've ranted about this in the past, 2 episodes I think, when it comes to like that 2024 wide receiver draft class was so coveted as like, hey, this is the best wide receiver group we've ever seen with Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, and all these other players that went in the first round, Brian Thomas,
Yeah.
and then the early second round. And it really hasn't panned out really well.
No, I know. For so many different variety of reasons, but yeah.
It's crazy. I'll get into my second player here, and that's Bucky Irving, a
Hmm.
fan favorite. I know he's been on your team in the past, and I know you do enjoy this player, but it's scary. And I didn't want to lean into the injury. Yeah, actually, you know what? Injury aside, because he is still coming back from this shoulder, which apparently has taken multiple months and almost a year to get back from.
Hmm.
I think the environment is setting itself up to really remove him as like that RB1
Yeah.
in Tampa Bay. So Kenneth Gainwell was signed to real money in Tampa Bay. I think to be their pass catching back. He's reliable, good in pass protection. I think that Kenneth Gainwell is going to eat a huge chunk out of like the snap share in Tampa Bay. Sean Tucker is just recently signed by Tampa Bay as well. He was a undrafted free agent, so he got some money to be their uh, RB1 potentially in Tampa Bay because like he's bigger, he's
Hmm.
more durable. Like we've seen
Yeah.
some absolute monster games from Sean Tucker, so I think it could end up being a three-headed monster. And if you're
Hmm.
taking Bucky Irving as where's he going here? He's going as give me one sec here. He's going as RB. Where the hell is he? Got to scroll down to find him. Um, oh, here he is. He's going as okay. He's going as the 36th player off the board, which means beginning of the third round,
Yeah.
which is exactly where he went in our dynasty startup. Like that is rich for a guy that's going to be sharing the ball with two other guys in an
Yeah.
offense that might be shaky when it comes to this Todd Bowles Tampa Bay Buccaneers situation in general.
A couple of stats about Bucky Irving that I think kind of bear some mention here. He makes 1.25 million. He is not making a huge amount of money. He's young, so that's part of it, but he's not under a big contract. Two, going along with that, he was picked 125th overall in the fourth round in 2024. He did not come with a huge amount of draft capital either. He was a
Fourth
uh,
round?
fourth round pick. Yeah. So this is a player that I think, when you remember those things, he's not irreplaceable to that offense. This is not someone who came in as a really high end pick. This is not someone who came in with a huge contract, right? This is not someone who they traded a bunch of stuff for. This is someone who they picked, in a later round, and was lightning in a bottle for them the first year. Had a great season, but how much of that can be replicated. And I think going forward, yeah, probably that was lightning in a bottle that one year. I don't really see that as something that's happening again for him in the near future. Is he capable of it? Sure, he's done it. We know he's capable of it. But yeah, I don't see that as the direction that the team's going. And yeah, that's another player that
Hmm.
I loved having him on my team that rookie year. That was great for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not something I'm counting on going forward with him.
Well,
I think that's more aberration than norm.
I think we see this all the time with these day three running backs. Damian Pierce, great example where he had a fantastic rookie season and then was never heard of ever again
Yeah,
because they are replaceable, because
yeah,
they are cheap, and because teams want to upgrade off of those players.
yeah,
And I think the shocking part to me is actually like Sean Tucker, an undrafted free agent, is going to end up stealing his money, like taking his lunch
yeah.
money at the end of the day. And like Kenneth Gainwell, who was stuck behind Saquon and then behind Jalen Warren last year, like he's getting a chance to make some real
Yeah.
money on a good a better maybe environment. I know.
So this is one of those things where like so you're putting together your football team, right? You're not your fantasy team, your actual football team, right? And you have an offense that wants to run a certain way and needs a player that fits in a certain archetype. And how do you get that player? And there's different ways you can do it. You can go out and sign somebody, you can trade for somebody, or you can just spend a draft pick on a player that fits in that archetype, right? And so, you know what? The trade market's too rich. Nothing in free agency that's within what we're looking to do. Let's just go draft a player that fits with what we want to do. And then you plug them in and it operates, but you might not be happy with that. You might want to upgrade from that, right? And it's something that happens so often in the NFL. And yeah, I think that's just another example of that.
And speaking of upgrading, I I don't want to assume, but I'm going to throw it back to you now with your next one here. I feel like the Cardinals decided they had to upgrade their running back situation even after they drafted, not drafted, they signed out Tyler Algiers. So
Yeah.
let's get into yours.
Jeremiah Love. Okay, this is an interesting one to put on here. Again, I'm looking at this as you're in your work redraft league. You're on draft night. You're having a couple pints. There's someone at the table who thinks they know football, thinks they're up on the news, thinks they know what the new hotness is, and is going to take Jeremiah Love too high. And that's probably going to happen in a lot of people's leagues. And his ADP is probably going to go up the closer we get to the actual draft as well. And then you get people who just look at the ADP and go, oh, well, that player, and take that pick, right?
Click. Yep.
I can see him climbing up and getting higher than what he should be. Yes, great player, great talent. I think he's going to have a great career. If it's dynasty, I like, and we're taking him where he took him in our dynasty league. I can get that argument. In a redraft league, I am not taking him anywhere near where he's probably going to end up going because he is on a terrible, terrible team. He's probably going to have a terrible game script, a lot of games. I don't really know what they're doing in a lot of cases,
Yeah.
or even why they thought it was a good time to take a player like him. So, yeah, that is one that I am going to fade, and unless for some reason in your work league he falls, avoid him.
Yeah, I agree. I see almost a Ashton Genty kind of season for Jeremiah Love coming up, where he's the high. I don't know. I don't know why we keep doing this, Bobby. Where every year, like the running back one is like the best running back that's ever happened,
Yeah,
and like a couple years ago was Bijan, and then Ashton Genty, generational. Like, do people understand what the term generational means? It's like once every,
generational means once a generation. Yeah, exactly.
not 2 years later. Like,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
so Genty going to a bad situation where he was getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Everybody wanted Arizona to take a offensive lineman because they don't have a right tackle signed to the fucking squad yet, and now we're going to be putting Jeremiah Love behind this offensive line, which maybe I'm being overly zealous here. Like I think they have some pieces on that offensive line. I think that it's not going to be a winning environment. Like whether it's Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, or Carson Beck, like none of these guys can operate at a high enough level to produce fantasy output for this kind of running back. So I do like this call out. Um, right now in ADP, he's going as the 20th player off the board, which means like back third of the second round. But
Yeah,
you and I just saw Eric Inward take him in the first round of a dynasty startup. So um, I don't know. Like to your
yeah,
point, I guess different situations. Like If you draft around the idea that you can keep him long term, that's
Mhm.
great because I
Yeah,
do think.
keeper league, dynasty league, you're going to have this player for their whole career. It's a different conversation.
But for to your point, like if you're a redraft, like this is not the season to have him. Like think rookie year Ashton Genty, think Saquon Barkley like year 2 where he was just fed the ball, but it didn't really matter. Like he still finished outside the top 15 at running back. So
Hmm.
I like this call out big time. Yeah. Okay.
Player on the same team.
Staying with the Arizona Cardinals, Trey McBride is going way too high, in my opinion. I think that he was so inflated by the situation in Arizona last year that it got to almost like critical mass. Um, Arizona Cardinals led the league in pass attempts per game last year, over 40. Marvin Harrison was missing time. All their running backs were absolutely injured or depleted.
Hmm.
And Trey McBride just feasted underneath and was a yak monster on top of that. He had touchdown totals that we had never seen before. So I feel like regression's coming on that front, especially when you bring in a third overall draft pick in Jeremiah Love.
Yep.
You assume health from the wide receivers in Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison. It's again, this is a player being taken in the first round and a half of drafts, and I think that would be a mistake. I think that Brock Bowers is the tight end you want. If you're gonna take a tight end that early, take Brock Bowers this year.
Yep.
Trey McBride's a great player,
Don't
but
don't take a tight end that early.
also
Just
don't
don't
take
do it.
also don't
Just
take
don't
a
do
tight
it.
end that early. I think is the true message here, and
Yep.
um, I just think that for him and his ADP, let's pull that up. Um,
Yeah. So I have in Fantasy Pros here Trey McBride going 14th overall, compared to Bowers going 21st overall.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Sleeper has them even lower. So Trey McBride at 16, Brock Bowers at 24, which is like a half round later. And I,
Yeah.
I, I truly believe Brock Bowers is the better tight end to have this year. So, um,
Yeah.
that's my stance, and I'll let you kind of bat some ideas around off
I'll
off of
just
that.
say, like, tight end is just one of those positions too. Like, if you have a good tight end who has, a season like McBride had last year, that is the cheat code to fantasy football. It can make your season for you. But I think it is not the kind of thing where it is reliable enough, just generally speaking, for you to be taking at that high of an ADP. Yeah, you want to look for a breakout tight end who will have that kind of season for you later on in the draft. Try to hit with. There's a bunch of other good tight ends out there that definitely have potential to be tight end number one this year.
Yeah,
And yeah, I will be looking to take a gamble on one of them who can be serviceable or high upside, rather than using that high draft capital on somebody who I think, yeah, I agree, is a candidate for some regression this year.
and I think when you look around the landscape here, the players that are being taken around Trey McBride, if you take Trey McBride instead of Amarian Hampton, instead of Jeremiah Love, instead of Nico Collins, Chase Brown, George Pickens, Brock Bowers, like I already said, if you take him over those guys, those are
Mm,
players that are league winners versus a guy that is going to be facing some sort of regression, and I'm
mm.
happy to stand by that. I don't think Trey McBride, for all his talent, is going to be leaps and bounds above every other tight end this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm happy we agree. On to your next, my good friend.
Yeah, my next is actually, well, I have two players on the same team here, but we'll start with another tight end here. Fannin. And this kind of piqued my interest last week when we kind of had this come up in conversation. But Cleveland has so many question marks around them. We have a couple of new wide receivers that have been brought in. We have a lot of changes in that offense. We don't know what the quarterback situation is going to look like in that offense. Harold Fannin was a young player who looked really good in that situation last year, but what is he going to look like this year, especially with them having brought in two new pass catchers in the rookie draft as well, right? How big is that pass catching role going to be for him? How much will he still retain? Having said that, I do like him. I do think he's a good tight end. He is the kind of tight end that, just speaking about that, taking a gamble on a tight end, he is the kind of tight end I would take a gamble on. But he's right now going as the fifth tight end off of the board. Fantasy, oh, sorry, sick. Yeah, no, fifth. Yeah, Fantasy Pros has him rated as the fifth overall tight end, just behind Tyler Warren and just above Tucker Kraft. So there are other tight ends that I would rather place a gamble on. And I think where he's going in the draft, I would probably either look to get one of the other ones around him or wait for one of the lower down ones that I feel more confident in, especially again in a redraft situation.
Okay. I mean, I don't think I think so. I'll push back and just say I think he's properly priced right now. I think I think he's one of the few players, um, one of the few tight ends that's actually like in that sweet spot, kind of between the top tier and then that like the next tier break. Like he's kind of appropriately priced to me, which is why I was upset to see him go where he did in our dynasty startup. Like him going as the 64th player in sleeper means what? That's like the fifth, sixth round, and I kind of I think that's kind of appropriate. Like the tight end landscape in Cleveland now has kind of opened up with David Njoku moving out. I know they drafted some tight ends, but those are blocking tight ends. I think he is going to continue to operate in that short to intermediate level of the field and kind of just feast on some of the checkdowns when the offensive line is probably not up to snuff. So he's
I
one.
think I don't disagree with any of those things. I'll agree with that. I just think I would rather either reach up for like a Tyler Warren, or I would rather wait longer and get somebody, a Laporta or somebody like that.
I literally operated that way. I said,
Mhm.
well, I took Josh Allen in the second round in our dynasty startup, so that means I'm not taking a tight end until the 18th round. So,
Mhm.
to your point, that's exactly fair. I think he actually I see your point now with the fact like he's right at the bottom of that tier where it's justified to take him, but is he going to be a difference maker for your team? I see your
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't
Good.
want the bottom of the first tier. I would rather just wait and get someone in that lower tier that you can get a bunch of rounds later.
100%. And just looking at players that are going around him, um, Christian Watson, David Montgomery, Roma Dunze, Jordan Tyson, Quinshon Judkins, like these are all players that are going to be starters for your team, that are going to be important members of your team versus Harold Fannin, which is going to be, to your point, the bottom of that first tier of tight end. So I do see the vision there now. Um, I'm going to get into my next one here, and that's going to be RJ Harvey. And we just saw him go. I'm not going to pull up the draft. I'm pretty sure he went in like the fourth or fifth round of our dynasty startup draft as like RB. Oh man, Where's he ranked here? Um, so he's going as the 54th player, so that would put him in the fifth round.
Mm-hmm.
So I had him on my keeper league last year, and it's a it's a bit of a roller coaster. Like he has his spike weeks. He has he's not an efficient runner, and I think we saw that come to fruition when it comes to Sean Payton and what he wants to do with his running back position. They draft Jonah Coleman, they bring back J.K. Dobbins.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like a 3 to 4 headed monster in that backfield, and I think the explosive plays are still certainly in play for RJ Harvey. But if he's going to be your RB2, I don't like that cost, and I don't like that play right there at this time. Like it's, I think Sean, like it's human nature, right? Like it's an over adjustment. We wanted an upside swing, so we take RJ Harvey, who can hit the home run from any time, anywhere, any place. Oh, that didn't work too well. Let's take the steady Eddie of Jonah Coleman, who just grinds out four
Rumble,
yards,
rumble, rumble, right? Yeah.
4 yards, touchdowns, has good hands.
Mhm.
I think Jonah Coleman's going to take a lot of RJ Harvey's lunch money here in
Yeah.
2026, and
That's
I'll throw it over to you.
that's why I picked him in my rookie in our dynasty startup because I think he's a candidate to win that backfield.
Smart man.
Uh, yeah, I have my moments. We'll see. We'll see if it pans out. Yeah. So, yeah, I totally agree with you here. I'm just looking at some stats here. Um, qualifying 49 qualifying backs, he was 42nd in explosive run rate and 44th in yards after contact per attempt. So those are some not kind stats
Not
for a
great.
running back, right? That's not what you want to see. Yeah, I agree. He is definitely a player that I would be looking to uh, try and avoid where he's currently going.
And the other thing you have to think too is like he was a second round draft pick by the Broncos last year, but I think a lot of people had that as a reach. Like he was projected to be a third or fourth round pick in a very loaded running back draft class. Like, would I have been surprised if the Denver Broncos took Cam Scatabo in the second round? No, but he falls. But RJ Harvey goes in the second round, and all of a sudden he has this crown, this imaginary crown put on his head, where it's like, okay, you are now the heir apparent to Sean Payton. You're Pierre Thomas. You're going to be a PPR monster. And again, he had some weeks, but when I was watching the games, it really did not feel good. Like trying to bounce things outside, not taking what was blocked. And the other thing you have to remember, as I mentioned, blocking, is the Denver Broncos had one of the best offensive lines that stayed healthy the entire season. And that's hard to, I'm not going to say that because it happened last year, they're not going to be healthy this year, but like you have to predict that there's going to be some banged up players throughout a season, especially along the offensive line. And that's just going to eat into potential like extra yards gained from the offensive line's blocking. So um, I once again we just watched him go at ADP in our dynasty startup, and I did not like that pick. And I think uh, he's his this player's RB2, and I would not feel comfortable with RJ Harvey as my RB2.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, last players here. Let's get into it, Bobby. You have
Yeah.
one more. I have one more.
I have one more, and I'm going to put some asterisks next to this. It's not that I don't like this player, and it's not that I don't think this player should probably go highly. In fact, I think probably should go in the first round, but I'm maybe not quite taking him at where he's being taken in the first round. Chase Brown.
Okay.
Um, so well, it's second round, I guess. Sorry, I have him as 20th overall. So we're looking at a mid second round running back. Um, yeah, he is just that bad team or a bad situation kind of scenario here. I have a lot of worries about Cincinnati and what they're going to look like. Um, and I would rather take some of the other options in and around that wheelhouse other than a Chase Brown. So, for instance, if I'm looking at a running back in that situation, I would probably lean towards a James Cook over a Chase Brown, just based on what I like around the team and the situation that he's in. Or maybe players that are kind of going in that ballpark. Maybe I'm going for an Omarion Hampton. Maybe I'm going for that Brock Bowers in that situation. Maybe I'm going for an AJ Brown in and around that ballpark.
Yep.
I just think that there are. I like to default to players who are on good teams. I think that is an important thing, and I have some real question marks about Cincinnati. So I like the player. I don't like the situation for how highly he is ranked.
Okay.
I would look to try and fade him and get him. Hopefully some other people feel that way. I'm looking to get him very tail end of the second round, maybe early third round, as opposed to getting him in the middle of the second round.
Okay. Well, let me. I'll ask you a couple questions here, and you can defend yourself. So he finished in this bad Cincinnati situation. He finishes the RB7 last year.
Mhm.
Does that change anything about your sentiment?
No, it doesn't, because I
Okay.
look at that as probably that's the peak.
Okay.
I don't think it's getting better than that, and I think people are maybe drafting him expecting that to happen again or to it improve, and I don't see it improving from there.
Okay.
I think that's about the limit of what you can expect, and maybe it'll be a little bit less even.
Okay. Let me ask you then, Saquon Barkley or Chase Brown?
Ooh, now you're talking about another player that I could have easily put on this list today. I would take Chase Brown over Saquon Barkley. But I
um,
would probably go with Marion Hampton over both of them.
sure. Derrick Henry or Chase Brown?
Derrick Henry, I would go with Chase Brown over a Derrick Henry. But there would be some other players that I would maybe consider to be in between there.
Okay. Last one. Brees Hall or Chase Brown?
Brees Hall, ooh, there's another player on a bad team. I don't like players on bad team. Yeah, maybe you're convincing me here. Maybe all the running backs in around this area in the draft are on bad teams,
Yeah.
and that's something to think about. But but that doesn't mean that you can't take a wide receiver in that area of the
Of
draft
course.
too,
Of
right?
course. I just think this like these are all players in the same tier, and I think if you're coming up with Chase Brown on a lot of them, he might be appropriately priced.
Mm,
Um, if he's put up top 12 running back seasons the last two seasons as a late day three pick. Um, no competition added from the draft. I think that if Cincinnati does decide to move forward as him as their running back, they're going to sign him to a
mm,
reasonable contract, and maybe away he goes.
yeah.
Um,
Can
but
I ask you one back
sure,
at you?
yeah.
Chase Brown or Josh Allen?
Like with our format that we have.
Yeah, PPR.
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, I had that decision in front of me, and I took Josh Allen, so I'm going to stay with Josh Allen.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of more the point I'm getting at too,
yeah,
right? Like I just think that there's maybe some other ways to look if you're looking at that decision.
totally fair. Totally fair there. I hear you, man.
Mhm.
Okay, my last one, and then we're out of here, everybody. I'm gonna say Jordan Tyson. Um, I feel like he is going in those middle rounds, like the 6 to 9 kind of range, and we have to remember a couple things. Injuries have plagued this man, and he never did a full workout, never a full extra. I think he did like 20 minutes. I shouldn't. I'm making that up, but he only did a limited extra like workout with some teams when it came to him just running routes on air. And of course, he showed up and showed out. But I think a lot of when you watch him on tape, he's doing a lot of when it comes to his releases, they are kind of almost TikToky. Like he's coming up with like freestyling off the line of scrimmage to try and get open. And that's great when it's one-on-one coverage, but if it comes to like timing in the NFL, you're not going to have that extra second, extra half second to like make an extra move to get open. You have to get open immediately when it comes to some of these routes. And then he has this tendency to catch the ball and go down, which I think is a result of like his major knee injury that he had two seasons ago, which was like every ligament in a knee was gone. So he's catching the ball and going down. So I don't know if the compete is going to be there in the NFL level where you catch the ball and like you need an extra yard to get the first
Yeah.
down. I don't know if that's going to be there. So I I hear the arguments on both sides of like, okay, he's going to take away from Chris Olave. I land kind of in the middle of like both these players are going to help each other open things up on the field. Like you
Mhm.
can't double team Chris Olave, you can't double team Jordan Tyson. So there could be opportunity for both. I just think his learning and growing curve is going to be at a higher level than what's already there in New Orleans with Chris Olave and the chemistry that was cooked up between him and Shuck. And Jordan Tyson's, electric. He's a top 10 NFL draft pick for a reason. I just
Hmm.
don't see the payback this year until, call me pessimistic, but I think that he has a long way to go when it comes to being a football player on an NFL team.
Yeah.
I,
I
I don't have. I'm pulling at straws here. I do
Yeah,
think.
no, I'll jump in here. So, I'm not sure if you have him on your mock draft, but Fantasy Pros, I had to scroll a little bit. Has him at 90th overall.
Okay.
Um, so you're looking at, you know, let's see here. Yeah, getting it around, things are kind of dart throws at that point, but somewhere in the ninth to 10th round or so, right?
So Sleeper has him at the 69th player off the board, which
Okay,
means that's there's a bit of dis, difference there, and
difference
that
there.
means
Do you like him at 90th overall as opposed to 60 somethings overall?
almost 2 rounds later. Yes, I would prefer that.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. So that's enough of a difference to say, okay, yes, I'm taking that, making that pick as opposed to not as
I'll take
those
the
two.
upside there. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's reasonable. Yeah. That's interesting that they're off by that much, and I think shows how these rankings move,
Well,
right? These are
well,
not set in stone things.
experts like us know what's actually up. ADP is its own thing. So,
Exactly, exactly. I think this is another one too. Kind of goes back to the point I made about Jeremiah Love. Um, I am always cautious in redraft leagues with rookies, just because there's always somebody out there who's going, I know shit. I'm going to take that rookie higher than they probably should, right? And that's maybe part of why the ADP is higher than the actual expert opinion there too. That could be something that's happening there. Uh,
people get so rookie happy. It is sometimes hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, don't be the person who does that. Throw your darts when it's time to throw your darts when you're in those later rounds, but yeah, don't be wasting an opportunity to get known useful players on dart throws.
Amen, brother. Amen. Um, and that's it. Let us know in the comments if we missed somebody that you think is being overdrafted. Are we wrong? Tell us in the comments. Leave a comment, like and subscribe as always. Um, I'm sure there's going to be more news that filters through over the next week as June 1st is now passed. So
Mhm.
contract flexibility opens up. Teams realize, oh, I actually have to fill out these positions now. So
Oh, we need to field the full team. Oh wow. All right.
so I imagine there will be more movement over the next week, and we will see you all next Monday. I mean, we record on Monday, so we'll see you next Tuesday. Bobby, thank you once again for
Pleasure as always.
taking some time and chatting about it. And this was good. This was a lot of fun, and I think this is good, like mental fantasy work for this time in the off season. Like really taking a look at players as we get closer to the kickoff of the season and seeing like, okay, I know there's crowd think, but at the end of the day, like how do I feel about these players? And I think this was some good analysis. So kudos to you. And I will. I guess I'll see you on Wednesday. We're probably going to throw down some board games or some Dungeons and
Oh,
Dragons.
absolutely. Absolutely we will.
Excellent. Um, but until then, thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you next week. Peace out. Good
Yeah.
stuff.